What's good, Travel Hour family? We are back again with another episode 5. So we are chugging along. I cannot believe we are 5 episodes in. Um,
5 episodes.
yeah, so things are coming along, and as we begin to travel the world, as we've been traveling the world, this episode is really gonna hit home for me, just because today we're gonna talk about black men do travel. I think that a lot of times when we see people out and about traveling, sometimes we just always see the ladies are representing us, right? Our black women are out there moving about. They're documenting the experience. They got the Instagram reels, they got the
Right.
TikToks and things of that nature. And so, us, like, I'll go on a trip and I'll be like, cool, I was there, but I come back with 3 pictures, right? So I think that as things are opening up, but also I think that, black men are traveling. We are moving around the world, and I'm super excited to be able to talk about that in today's episode 5 with Matthew, and also with the homie Daryl, as well. So glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
What's going on? What's up, everybody? What's up, Travel Hour fam? In between them weeks that we don't record, this feel like forever. I almost miss them. I do miss y'all. We miss y'all, Travel Hour fam. Thank y'all for rocking with us, and we see y'all supporting. Like, we just checked the numbers a little while ago, and we see y'all. We see some new states and new countries popping up on the listening charts. And so, listen, keep sharing the podcast, keep spreading the word about the Travel Hour. Like we said in the first episode, it's not just a podcast; it's a movement, and so we need your help to get the word out, as we continue to advocate for Black travel and also advocate for Black male travel. Yeah, man. So, Joc, what's been happening in the world?
A lot, a lot. So we're gonna
A
jump into
whole
that.
lot, a lot of.
It's a whole lot of going on in the world since we have last spoken. Like, people in masked off. We got Elon Musk out here making money moves.
Money
Mike Tyson
moves.
out here being Mike Tyson. So it's just a whole lot going on, man. But yeah, first things first. I know the news has been the hot thing is that it looks like Elon Musk just closed that deal on Twitter. MP, have you been following that? Daryl, have y'all been following that?
Yeah.
I have, and I do like Twitter. I like to use Twitter, um, and it's been like the talk of everything, right? Elon Musk bought Twitter for $44 billion. Um, Mind you, he's already the owner of Tesla, and he's the owner of SpaceX, and now he's taking on Twitter for $44 billion. And I was reading the Insider, and it was saying that the reason why he wanted to buy what is this Twitter, because a couple of weeks prior he was saying that it would be like buying a misery, right? Because Twitter, I guess, is a lot to deal with. But then he changed his song because he believes that Twitter can be a trusted platform for the public and for the world. And so, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what comes of this purchase, um, and what changes come as a result of the ownership in Twitter changing. And so I guess I'm interested to see what happens next.
Yeah, me too. I'm interested to see how this unfolds. I've after following like Elon Musk, like, he is a I'm gonna do what I want to do type of guy. So I guess apparently, like, he had petitioned to be on the board for Twitter, and I guess he didn't get the feedback that he wanted to get. So then he came back and bought Twitter. So
Right.
um,
Typical, right? Like, so I'm gonna show you. You don't want to let me on the team. I buy the team.
hey, look, I know it's probate season. Look, you always got that one person that didn't get online, and they talking about some. I got something for them.
Right, right, right.
Elon Musk had the final word. That's what he
Elon
said.
Musk went to nationals.
Woo!
So it's gonna be interesting to see what changes come with Twitter. Hopefully they don't do too much changing, because I do think Twitter is a great platform. Black Twitter keeps me like rolling, right? but also keeps me informed of what's going on in the community and in the world. So hopefully they don't go that get up there and doing too much changing.
Yeah, me too. Well, speaking of Bogarting your way into the room, let's talk about Mike Tyson. Hey, I want to start this off is that if y'all haven't heard the story, what happened with Mike Tyson? Mike Mike Tyson boarded his JetBlue flight, minding his business. A fan noticed him on the flight, and the fan was visibly intoxicated. Ran up on Mike. Mike talked to the dude, took a picture with him. All right, you know what I'm saying? Like, go about your business, right? The dude's still in Mike Tyson's face, still talking to him. So I guess Mike starts to get agitated, you know, and tells the fan, like, get up out my face.
George something to Mike Tyson,
and dude wasn't trying to hear it.
This shit crazy, bro.
So
Right.
Eventually Mike put them paws on him, man. And I don't think people know that, like, Mike Tyson still got them hands. So Mike had to put them hands on that boy, man. And I don't think it ended too well for him.
Well, we know it didn't end too well. Oh, buddy had blood like dripping from his forehead and looking stupid, like he just ain't just you went up there. I just don't understand. I really don't understand. Oh, but what's the funniest thing? The funniest thing I've read about this whole scenario, and we can discuss it. Somebody commented or tweeted, I can't remember where I saw it, but they said, first off, why is Mike Tyson on JetBlue? So I think that might be something we can talk about. Why is old buddy even flying JetBlue in the beginning to begin with?
Well, you know, JetBlue Mint is very nice. You know, it is very nice.
It is.
You know, so JetBlue, they're a little underrated, you know, but I thought Mike might be on the G5 or, you know, Delta or something else, but you know, hey, it is what it is. But they do got that nonstop flight into Miami though.
Oh, that is true. So maybe he was paying for convenience and not necessarily comfort and style this particular go round.
Shout out to JetBlue though; they have the most leg room in economy out of all the.
Yeah, I was reading that the other day. Listen, I've never had a bad experience with JetBlue, so you know they are right in my book.
Yeah, I like JetBlue. Daryl, have you ever flown with JetBlue?
Yeah, I tried them first time like a few years back. I mean, honestly, like they were clutch, like free Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? It's like to me, they were clutch, and like you were saying with the destinations, like sometimes they'll have those destinations to where the major carriers don't. You know, so definitely like once I started seeing that, I'm like, JetBlue's the move. And I'll say since then, like they've been improving every year, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I rock with JetBlue. I think a lot of people sleep on them because they're not the big four. But my experience has always been good with JetBlue. I know they have a hub in Fort Lauderdale, so they've always got like deals going to different places. So like I flew JetBlue for like $75 one way to Colombia. And it was a great flight. Yeah, it was just like, hey, we out. I flew with them to go to Puerto Rico, and like you said, they're actually changing the game. So some of the big four airlines are looking at giving free Wi-Fi because JetBlue is doing it. And so, you know, JetBlue is kind of like that tweener airline where it's not a budget airline, but it still has some of the amenities that come with, you know, saying the big four as well. So I like JetBlue, man, especially their Mint program. But speaking of JetBlue, they actually just threw their name in the hat because y'all know Spirit and Frontier was like, we about to link up and shut it down, right? Budget airlines in here, let's get it. And JetBlue was like, well, shoot, if they link up, who's gonna be next on the food chain? JetBlue was like, yeah, that's probably gonna be us, right? So then JetBlue stepped in and was like, hey, we got a better deal to offer y'all than Frontier is offering to y'all. And so they in talks right now.
I think that's gonna be a real interesting, like, who's gonna like get the final contract. You know, of course, it has to go to like I believe the Supreme Court or something like that, whatever. I think I was reading something, and they have to kind of approve it or something like that. But I was watching a video the other day talking about like if this was particularly with Spirit and Frontier and how if they were to merge, how that would it would increase the airfare slightly, but also they would become more of a competition for the big four. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this all pans out. I mean, if JetBlue buys Spirit, I mean, I guess we won't be able to talk bad about Spirit anymore. So, uh,
Ooh, that's gonna be that's cool.
everybody's gonna have to like rescind every comment that they've ever said about Spirit.
You know what? And y'all gonna Daryl, have you ever flown Spirit? And how's your experience been if you have?
I booked with Spirit, and what ended up happening was okay. So I had a trip to Puerto Rico, say like a few years ago. So Frontier was actually the only airline at our RDU that had nonstops going to San Juan.
Mm.
So we flew them going down, and then was going to fly Spirit back. But Spirit just canceled they just canceled the flight.
Listen,
At
God
all.
blocked it. God blocked
They
it.
didn't tell us nothing, and it was still showing up as on time. So I'm sitting over here like, yo, like we
Just
didn't,
waiting.
yeah, we didn't know because a friend of mine that came in last, she was like, hey, they canceled the flights going back to Raleigh. I'm like, why is it still saying on time on here? And then lo and behold, when we called, they were saying it was canceled. Like they was trying to push us like to leave early or to leave later on in the week. I mean, it was the customer service part was just, it was rough, but we was able to fly. We was able to fly back. We flew back JetBlue. Yeah, we flew back JetBlue going into Fort Lauderdale, Orlando.
Okay, yep.
As we flew back going to Orlando.
Now, was that flight coming back originally with Spirit? Was that a nonstop flight?
Let me see. No, it was a stop in Fort Lauderdale, and then from Fort Lauderdale up to going to Raleigh.
Got you. Yeah. So I always tell folks like I got my rule with Spirit now because I got to manage my expectations. I don't go in there with Delta expectation for Spirit, right? So for me, what I do is usually if it's got the flight's got to be under 3 hours, it's got to be direct nonstop, and then usually I don't want to spend more than $100 on a Spirit flight unless I have to, which is like an extreme circumstance. So long as I've done that, like I haven't had any problems with Spirit. But folks be trying to fly Spirit and got all these connections and stuff, and then it's like they don't have a lot of planes and they don't have all the destinations in the United States. So if your flight gets canceled, you might be there for a couple days, and that's why I was like, you know what, I don't really do the layovers with them. So I just need to get in and get out, right? And so far it's been pretty good. Now, of course, like and that's why I don't like to be on a long either, because like, look, I know we ain't got TVs and I know we ain't got able to charge our phones and no Wi-Fi. So let's get where we going and get up off this plane.
Thanks.
Well, may the odds be in their favor. I've never flown Spirit, so I can't say that I relate to any of those experiences. I almost, I was real close to booking a Spirit flight a couple of months ago, going to Chicago. But by the time I added on everything I need to add on, I was like, let me just go to United and book this flight, and it ended up being cheaper. So one day I might try Spirit.
I still hate American though. I hate American Airlines.
Yeah, I was about to ask y'all which y'all's big four. I don't like I do not like American Airlines. Cannot stand American Airlines. Will not, if I can help it, will not fly American Airlines. So if I had to rate my own personal top four or big four, Delta for sure. Delta, I like United, and dang, Southwest because it's easy to get around California, and then JetBlue. What about y'all?
Yeah, I know for me is Delta, JetBlue, and Southwest.
Yeah,
because again, like, and I would say I would throw Frontier in there because like they've had those flights to where they're just clutch to where the big four don't have the nonstop coming out of Raleigh, and they will offer it. So that's the only way. That's the only way I had utilized Frontier. It's only one-way flights or nonstop flights. Like that's it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Joc?
Actually, my big four would be the same as Daryl. And I will say, like, Frontier does an excellent job of getting to like the Caribbean. They be having some clutch nonstop flights. And
But
So
y'all
yeah,
also over there on the East Coast. It's a whole different story for me trying to. So I guess
yeah,
it's all about location too.
True.
that's true because like that's probably gonna be cut out for me soon. But like I would not fly from like LA to the East Coast on like a budget airline. That's just not gonna work for me. 5 hours, 6 hours on the plane.
People do it because they come to Vegas all the time. I don't know how they do it. They be coming from like Florida and everywhere else on the East Coast. I can do it.
But yeah, let's definitely hop into it. I know we got a great guest on the show. And as Matthew always says, we like to be homegrown. We love to show love to the youth. And if folks are not aware, that is the Shaw University, the first HBCU in the South. And
Mother
so
Shaw.
everybody on this call went and graduated from that prestigious institution.
Trying to say, run that back. Went and graduated. Run that back. Make sure went and got our degree deferred.
Put some respect
Conferred,
on it.
excuse me.
I am a graduate.
Yes.
But yeah, we glad to be here. But Daryl, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. Been following you from afar, seeing what you're doing with the travel piece. So salute to you, King. But then also what you're doing, with the reels and the memes and things like that with the travel stuff, man. Like always spot on, always accurate, always hilarious, bro. So love what you're doing, man. But we glad to have you on the show. Introduce yourself to the people. Let us know where you from, how you got here, and all that good stuff, man.
Appreciate it, family. Hey, Daryl Harris, man, from Raleigh, North Carolina. My line of work, I am an entrepreneur. I am an insurance broker and anything else in between. That's just what I do. But my way of getting into travel, like crazy as it sounds, I got in through network marketing. So got into the whole network marketing deal like back when I was at Shaw, and then transitioned over to the travel side. And try to get some friends to travel. They was like, I don't know. I'm like, you know what? I'm just have to do it. Took my first trip back in 2014 to Riviera Maya. Went out there, had a ball. Went to go see the ruins in Tulum. After that, it was a done deal. Like I'm like the travel bug bit me. Seeing the different cultures, seeing I would say the locals and their way of life compared to mine. It gives you that sense of also being humble, because we don't get me wrong, like we have a lot to complain about, but someone is also praying for our problems too. So it definitely brought me to a position of where I know how to remain humble. So since 2014, man, I've just been out here in the airways, man, and just living life and just soaking it up.
Yeah, and something about that travel bug. When you get bit, you get bit hard, right? Like, and I be trying to tell people, like, go ahead and go travel. When that travel bug bites you, listen, you're gonna be y'all sit up here trying to talk about me, like you always going somewhere. I let you go somewhere, and as soon as you go somewhere, as soon as you get back, you'll be ready to plan for your next one. Like, I think it's just it's amazing to see like how that first trip that you take, especially internationally, it just broadens the horizons for you wanting to go out and explore and discover more, because there's so much out there to see, and the world has so much to offer.
Yes, completely agree.
I like what you said earlier. First of all, I didn't know you was from Raleigh. That's crazy, man. Yeah, like, and then you went to Shaw. Like, so you from Raleigh? You ended up going. So you stayed home and went to Shaw, right?
Yeah, so I mean, I pretty much just use Raleigh as a reference point. It's like I'm from Knightdale, so it's like 15, 20 minutes outside of
You from Raleigh?
Yeah,
might as well just stay Raleigh. But yeah, man, what ended up happening was, I mean, got accepted to a lot of schools out in Florida, but being how high out of state tuition was at the time, and being the major I was pursuing at the time, they had just opened it up at Wake Tech, so I started at tech school first, and then from there, when I realized that major wasn't for me, then lo and behold, my aunt was like, "Why don't you apply at Shaw? Like the band director giving out band scholarships." I'm like, "Wait, what?" After that, it was a done deal, man. Like got in the Shaw, and honestly, man, like I ain't like it in the beginning, but to be quite honest though, like once I started seeing how focused I was, making the dean's list and stuff like that, I'm like, I'm more focused here, so there's no need to transfer, just stay here. And honestly, like I would say Shaw helped develop these roots, because of the people that I met led to me to where I am today. So wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Shaw. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Also, shout out to the Gamma Tau chapter of Iota Phi Theta,
Yes,
which
sir.
Daryl is a member of.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to you all. And we let us see it.
Great.
Listen, I'm just excited that if you paid attention to the last 3 episodes, well, the last 2 and this one, so I guess this episode and the last 2, we were very intentional about bringing our guests on, but making sure that they were alumni of Shaw University, because we want to also present to the world and tell the world that we out here doing great and great things, right? We're living our dreams, like making the best of life we possibly can make for ourselves. So yeah, man. So definitely thank you for coming on. And we're excited about hopping into our conversation for today.
Glad to be here, man.
Yeah. So as Joc mentioned earlier, today's title of our episode is Black Men Do Travel, right? He mentioned that when we go on to our social media, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Twitter, whatever, we see a lot of Black people traveling, but it's heavily dominated by our Black queens, right? But we also want to kind of dispel the myth that Black men are not traveling, right? Because I think historically, Black men only traveled if they were in the military, right? When I even look at my father, his reasons for traveling was because he was stationed in Germany. And like prior to that, he had not been there. And also, even after, when he got back stateside, he hadn't traveled internationally again, maybe for like another 20 something years. So I was good and grown by the time they like started traveling. So but we just want to dispel that myth, right? That Black men don't travel. Now, I was reading the article in Essence, and they were saying, uh, Black men, they do travel, but for Black men, we consider traveling like a trip to Texas or a trip to Miami or to Vegas or to LA. But all those are great. All those, like, if you want to start somewhere, I always say start right here in the country that you live in, because there's so much to see even here in the United States, right? Like you can go hit all the national parks, you can hit the West Coast, the East Coast, go over to Alaska, go down to Hawaii. There's so much. Go to the top corner of the US and go to Maine. Like there's so much to see. And the US is so scenic and so much beauty. And so if you say I might not be able to afford to travel internationally right now, start right here in your backyard, right? And get that experience. But I do think that there is an extra added layer and to when you start traveling internationally, right? It just kind of shifts your perspectives, how you view the world. And so we want to talk about it today, right? Like, just talk about Black men and travel, like even with your experience, Daryl. When you are out traveling, how often do you see Black men, right, out there traveling?
Honestly, I would say it depends on the destination. Like that definitely has a lot to do with it, because I know when I went to Abu Dhabi back in end of 2019, as soon as I got to Germany, doing the brother nod was quite rare. Like I seen like maybe like 1 or 2, like that's about it. But if I'm going down to the Caribbean, whether it's Mexico, whether it's Jamaica, or whether it's DR, I'm seeing a lot of brothers, like far in between, So I feel like it's definitely indicative, like the choice of your destination, whether you're going to see us or not. That's definitely for sure. We are out here.
Yeah,
I can agree. That's definitely it's definitely a destination, because like we just got back from Europe a couple weeks ago, and it was funny because like it got to a point where certain spots we like, oh, they're going a Black person, like your eyes light up, you be
like, hey, I'm Black. Hey,
hey, look, then you trying to ear hustle to see if they got the same accent as you or something like that. Like, okay, like they speaking English, but they got a little accent. Where they from? So it just depends on, like you said, that's a great point. Like where you're at, these different places. And I think that goes to like just the way. Sometimes I know for like I can speak on my experiences, like as a Black man when I travel. When I first started getting out there internationally, I had so many reservations, right? And a lot of times we don't verbalize that because we've been so traumatized as being black men in America. And I didn't learn like how hard it is to be a black man in America because we're always told like, you live in the richest country in the world, you ain't got nothing to complain about. And then you go to other places and you be like, damn, you just get to be a person.
That right there.
A word.
Right there.
So like, bro, like, tell me, like, have you ever had like that moment? Like, you know what I'm saying? Have you seen those moments for you? It's like, damn, like, what did that look like for you, man?
Definitely. So, someone I was dating before, she was in the military and she was stationed outside of London. So my first time going over there, going over there to go see her and everything, spend some time with her. That's when it hit me. Like we're sitting in a pub in London and it's literally like, oh, hey, how you doing? Table for two. And it's like, wait, like you're like, you're not sizing me up. You're not doing the whole like, oh my God, they're black. I don't know if I want to serve them or not. They don't tip. You know what I'm saying? Like you didn't feel none of those that prejudice vibes. I was just like, that's when I really felt like a normal person. I was like, oh my gosh, and that's when it truly hit me, and even I would even go further when I was coming back on my way from Abu Dhabi. That's when things like, so I would say I'm not too sure. I'm not too familiar with Europe and European accents and things like that, but I'm not too sure where the couple was. But they even asked, during that time of 2019, with all the crazy politics, they were asking like, how did we even move about in our daily lives? They was like, why are you even there? They're like, why are you in a country that doesn't like you? Like to be just asked that boldly. I'm like, oh my gosh, so. But I would say going to Europe, that's when it really hit me, though, to where I would say, of course, that you're going to always have those, prejudiced people and everything, but it's not as in your face as it is in the States. And that's definitely for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's funny that you say that because on our way back from Greece, I had ended up being a 4-hour flight from Santorini back into London. And it just so happens, like, I'm boarding the flight, I turn around, I see this black girl, and I'm like, familiar looking face, cool, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just look at somebody like, yeah, they seem cool, like, cool, right? And right. So we ended up getting on the plane, and she ended up asking me something, and it turned into a whole conversation about like how her bags got lost on the way down to Santorini and stuff. So we ended up sitting next to each other on the plane ride back, and then behind us are two Nigerian women from London. And so we just get to talk. We talked the whole way back to London. It's a 4-hour flight. We talked the whole way.
Wow.
And like they start asking me questions like, yeah, like Karen. I'm like, Karen? They're like, yeah, like, does that really happen in your country? And I'm like, yeah, that's real. They was like, so white people are really that bold in the United States. I said, hell yeah. And I was like, we don't know if they got no gun. We don't know what they got on them, or if they call the cops.
Right.
They might shoot my black ass.
To their advantage.
Right, like they pull up, they see 6'5", 300. They just gonna probably start shooting. I'm just be real. That's how I think, right? When I get pulled over by the police, nobody sees 2 degrees. Nobody sees that this man is a professional working and doing whatever he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like all they see is a big black dude. And depending on what the hell I got on that day, it could be even worse. And so for them, like they couldn't fathom that the tears of white women had that much power to where it can get people killed. And they were like, yeah, that would never happen in London, bro. And I was like, dang, like the world is way different outside of the United States. It was really one of those moments for me too, man.
That part.
Listen. It's, yeah, man. And it's just it's so unfortunate though, right? Like, but fortunate at the same time because you get to go to these places and kind of escape your reality for however long you travel. But it also shows you the inconsistencies that we have here in America.
Oh, definitely.
So, yeah.
And to be clear, racism is everywhere.
It
just looks different. It looks different. So we seen what happened with the Queen and the Prince and
Megan.
They got Megan. They got acting funny when they're like, "Oh, this baby, we gotta wait to see what he look like when he pop out." So.
See what the hue is of the baby. We on the lighter end, or we on the darker end? Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, I think those things are super important. And I like how you hit on it, D. But as far as like, because and this is one thing I've noticed, right? You're
Mhm.
from North Carolina, you went to college in North Carolina, yet you're out here traveling the world, right?
Right.
And a lot of my North Carolina fam, like North Carolina is a great place to be. Like if I ever were to like settle down and lay roots, like I would probably go back to North Carolina. Love it. It's got everything you need. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if you get tired of North Carolina, it's a weekend trip to Atlanta, DC, or wherever you want to go, right? And I think it's so easy to fall in love with it that you kind of just be like, I'm cool being right here. But
Yeah,
what
you
kept
get
you
complacent.
motivated to like not fall into that way of thinking and to keep moving and being more out and about as far as the travel?
Honestly, I would say high school. I would definitely say high school because the way it was in high school, I mean, it was like an international club I was a part of at the time and things like that. Like I've always had like the strive just to like travel the world and things like that. But I would definitely say that my high school was not diverse at all.
Mhm.
So being that, is down in Wendell, down in the country, all you pretty much had was black, white, few Mexicans, and like three Asian folks. Like there was really no type of diversity there. And I'm like, ah man, like I want to get out, I want to get out and see the world. And fortunately, like when even my family, they traveled a lot. My grandfather, he always, God rest his soul, like he always pressed me to get out of North Carolina to say, hey, go out there, see the world. It's a lot of good living out there, and he definitely has a whole lot. Where he definitely contributed a lot as far as me traveling. But also, man, it was what we're just talking about, like the racism part. It's like, man, like it's like growing up around here, like it was a lot of racism. Not even gonna lie, like I'm not gonna sit here and like act like it didn't happen, but I mean, it happened a lot. And I'm just like, man, like you gotta get out of North Carolina, and as soon as it started, like moving around, I'm like, okay, okay, I can do this. I mean, of course, like future plans to leave here, but I would just say, just for the question purposes, definitely, I would say my experiences of growing up in North Carolina pressed me on to leave North Carolina and to travel and to meet other people. Because what ends up happening is, I would say if people have one experience with a one type of person, whether race, religion, or whatever background, they also typically paint everyone the same way. And I know with me, I've never been that type of person. So I'm like, okay, like let me just get outside of North Carolina and get outside this country stuff and see what's really out here. And
Mhm.
that's what pressed me on, man. Got tired of the small mindedness, like the contentness, when it
Yeah.
comes to like someone speaking about travel, is like, nah, like why would you want to do that? Everything, like I'm good here. It's like, no, like you not understand, like we have a lot that we can see outside of the state, outside the city. But that was what that was what pressed me forward, like those experiences.
And I think it's important. You brought up a good point about getting away from the small mindedness of things and going out and travel. Because even with like me relocating to from North Carolina to LA, when I go back home, the people that I left are doing the exact same thing, right?
Right.
And even when you go travel, right, you get all these experiences and you bring them back to people and you try to share, but they really don't have the same appreciation for it because it's, I guess, it's not on there. It's not something that they desire to do, right? It's not something that interests them or they think is obtainable. I even remember one of my friends who was moving out here to California from Alabama said that somebody told him that he asked him why he moving to California because it's getting ready to fall off into the water. Like
Partially
what?
true. We may not see it
Not
in our lifetime, but partially true.
not no time soon. But it just speaks to like the small mindedness, right? And I think traveling definitely it broadens your global appreciation for sure. You
Yes.
become more culturally competent. I'm able to work with different groups of people because I've been different places, right? Um, and I just think that it's so important, especially as black men, right? We talked about this, I think maybe a couple of episodes, how, yes, we have to be the breadwinners for our family and provide, but we also want to make sure that we take that time to, step back and travel, whether it be with your homies, with your wife, with your girlfriend, or by yourself. at some point in time, it's needed. I personally think, right, to stop, to go away, to reset, rejuvenate, because life is gonna always be happening. Like when we get back, we normally just hop back into what we left. And so, yeah. So, from your own personal experience, how would you say that travel, especially as a Black man, has enhanced your quality of life?
Oh, I mean, easily tenfold. Easily tenfold. Because again, going back to to being humble. Like if you go, if you, because a lot of places that I've been, like I was staying in like high end resorts. But then when you turn around and you go and drop further down the street, or if you go and mingle with the locals, you'll see, like how poor the local economy is. And personally, I always make it a purpose to spend my money with the locals, like always. But like whether I'm buying, souvenirs, whether it's going to the local restaurants, like I'm always want to do something for the locals so I can, help them out, like contribute towards that household, but definitely for me, man, like that's what it was. It was the humility part, but I would say just even still, just let me see. I would say it's on one hand, like how we're painted in the media, like how we're always, like we're this criminal, we're this and this. Like you're able to see that once you're able to get away from social media, everyday people who are just completely negative, you get to be able to get in touch with your true self. How do I think? Like how do I think as an individual? How do I operate? In this type of environment versus the toxic environment that I'm always in on a daily basis, Monday through Friday, or maybe Monday through Saturday. For some people, you're able to get away with that, or get away from that, and be able to really tune into yourself. So for me, when it comes to traveling, you're able to really tune in to who you are as an individual, because you will definitely be tested, like whether the flight is on time or whether it's late, whether the gate agent is going to be rude to you, whether the person is beside you, like that you're sitting beside, whether they're being nice or being rude, or doing whatever, like you're going to be tested in various ways, and you're going to be able to figure out who you truly are as an individual.
Definitely.
Bro, you hit it on the head, man. I think it's like just those added layers of like traveling and also being Black and also being a man on top of that, right? And it's just like, I like the finer things in life, and I always find myself like struggling with imposter syndrome because I know how I'm going to be treated. Like people double look at me when I walk through the TSA pre-check line, like, is he supposed to be over here? Because I got my do-rag on, I might have my hair braided up. You know what I'm saying? I got my little sweats and my joggers on, and they looking at me, and I'm like, yeah, this shit say TSA pre-check on the boarding pass. Like, stop looking at me crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then you go through, and it's like, oh, like, are you like, yeah, I'm sitting up here in first class. I'm a Delta medallion member. Well, stop looking at me like I'm crazy. Like my money's just as green as everybody else. And so it's just like I feel like we always have got to go the extra step to like prove ourselves that we're worthy to be at the table, man. And so, like just traveling like even opens up my eyes, because I know like even Matthew and I was talking about like the different type of vibe that you even saw like in other countries with their TSA versus like United States, like you come over here, you like, yo, you getting searched, all this, you know what I'm saying? Take this out your bag. Other places like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like they have a conversation with you, talk to you. Oh, welcome. You know what I'm saying? We're glad to have you. Boom, stamp, And so I think that's a super liberating experience. And I think one thing I did want to ask you, bro, because I see that, I commend you because you stepped out and done solo travel.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks don't realize like how really hard that is to say like, hey, like all of my friends may have pulled out of this trip, or I really want to go this place and I ain't got nobody to go, but I'm gonna still go. What that look like for you? What inspired you to start doing solo travel, man?
All right, so I started right here in the mountains. Like I went to Beach Mountain. So I just put together like a quick ski trip, and I'm like, this is gonna be my baby trip. Just start here right here in the backyard. Let me see how I like it. Went up there, had a ball, snowboarded, eating food, the whole nine. I'm starting to see like the liberating side of solo traveling, which is like you're literally moving on your own time. There is no, hey, what we about to do today? Like, well, I don't want to do this. Like, there's no negotiation. You just take off and you go, and that's it. So after I was comfortable with that. I have a friend that stays in where she lives in Abu Dhabi, and that's why I went for my next solo trip. So in the beginning, went out there, met with her and her and other expats that she knew out there, and then after that, we went to Dubai for the day because I was staying in Abu Dhabi at the time, and after that, soloed out, and it's a completely different feeling, especially in a country like the UAE, because last I checked, if I'm not mistaken, like their crime rate's like a 0.1%. So they don't play out there when it comes to anything, when it comes to the laws. And you can definitely tell by the way the citizens move. I mean, I felt completely safe out there. I mean, I'm literally going and just wandering the streets. Like, I mean, that's what I did. I just took one night. My friend was like, "Hey, just wander the streets. Like, I mean, you'll be safe." And she was completely right. There was no like kind of, looking at you crazy or anything. I mean, of course, like they're gonna know that you're an outsider because whether you're showing piercings or way you talk. I mean, of course they're gonna know. But honestly, like that was a safe destination for me, and I feel like also it would depend on the destination too, because some destinations are more rougher than others. Like I know it was someone I spoke to. I think like her and her spouse, they went out to Egypt, and she was definitely saying like, if someone's gonna go out there, you need a tour guide. Like she said that right off rip. She's like, look, you're gonna go out there, you need a tour guide. And for someone who would want to, just hop out there and say, hey, I just want to solo travel and backpack, might be in for a rude awakening. So
what is it? They be, I was almost calling them panhandlers. They're not panhandlers, but they be still trying to sell you stuff, and they are like lethal. Lethal. So yeah, we definitely agree with you on that travel. Yeah, it's best to maneuver. Even when we went to Egypt last year, we had our travel guide, and he was telling us like with certain stuff, like he would give us a code word if it was like legit, or if we shouldn't even like waste our money on it.
Wow.
And just stuff like that, and to keep you safe. Like even like the group that we were with, we were escorted by the police in our tour bus, like to the places that we went to, just for an extra level of security. So yeah, definitely get a tour guide if you're going to Egypt. But I ain't mean to interrupt you.
No. That's it. But
you spot on.
But that's pretty much it when I'm thinking of solo traveling, because again, it's just like once you get to a level of comfort with yourself, you'll be able to see through certain things, because I would definitely say solo traveling, some people can see you as an opportunity for some ill intentions, like wherever it may be, or good intentions. If you have the street smarts, you'll be able to see right through it, or you'll be able to develop that as you solo travel, because again, you'll be able to pick up on people who are trying to panhandle or trying to take you in a wrong direction, versus the people who are trying to show you a great time and they have great intentions towards you. So those are things that you can definitely pick up during solo travel. But honestly, it's one of the most liberating things I experienced.
Yeah, and you meet a whole bunch of dope people, right? Yeah. When traveling by yourself, like you just like they be like, "What you doing?" I don't really got no plan. You want to hang with us? For sure. Now you got a whole day worth of events and sightseeing. So you just meet dope people like solo traveling. So if you teetering the fence about like taking that solo trip, you waiting on your friends to make up their mind, leave them.
Go ahead. Don't wait for folks. You definitely go ahead and build it up. And the reason I was saying la a little earlier ago, because we had to learn that was the Arabic word for no.
Oh yeah.
Because we got ambushed.
Listen, we got off that bus at the pyramids before our foot can hit the sand.
You thought paparazzi was
take this.
And we didn't know, like,
they'll say gift. They'll say gift. And then when you take it, they say 5 pounds. Whatever. You're like, no. Like, it had to get to a point like Buddy didn't want to take it. I said, either you take it or I'm putting it on the floor. Which one you want me to do?
Yeah.
Because they know the game. Like, if you walk off with it, it's considered that you're stealing it. And then the police get involved because they got the area surveillance. So it's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, Egypt is a beautiful place, man. But you definitely see, and I definitely approach it from a place of understanding. It's just like there's been a lot of unstableness, there's been corruption, wide scale going on, and things like that.
For
And
sure.
these people didn't put themselves in those positions, right? But at the same time, you got to protect yourself as well. And so, just learning, like saying to tell people no, be firm in your no, and know that's okay. And if they talking like crazy, just walk away. Just don't entertain the conversation no more. Which I've had to do myself because, like I was in Cuba, and that was my first solo trip internationally, and went on that trip, and I learned so much about myself, and I also learned what it was like to be a solo traveler. And for 90% of the trip was great, but I did have a situation where I was in the plaza, which is like in the middle, in the heart of Havana, and I'm out there in the plaza, and like this other black Cuban sees me, and he's like, "Oh, what's up, my brother?" And I had my phone, and I was actually like talking at the time. So he heard me speaking English, and he was like, "Okay, cool." So he walks up to me. He's like, "Yeah, like you looking for cigars and get some good Cuban cigars for the low." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, yeah, like where they at?" You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I like cigars and stuff like that. And so we started talking. I start walking, and then he's like, "Well, yeah, like they're right here at this shop." And I'm like, "Cool. Well, where's the shop?" And so he points like, "Yeah, it's just one block over." So we walk one block over. Then he's like, "Yeah, it's just over here." So I'm like, "Are you sure, man? Like, where's the actual cigars?" And so like we end up going a couple more blocks. We make 2 turns, and I'm in an alley somewhere. And I'm like, now I'm like, okay, I'm on alert. What's up? I'm gonna have to knock his ass out if I gotta do what I gotta do, right?
Right.
And so we end up going up into these steps to the house. So we end up seeing it, and then the only thing I saw is like people was on the balcony, they were buying cigars. So I'm like, cool, all right. So we go up there, we get in there, and they passed me a box of cigars. And I'm like, yeah, I just want a couple of cigars. So they open the seal on the cigars and see what Cohibas. Once you break the seal on Cohibas, basically like it decreases the value on Cohiba cigars. I didn't know that. So they break the seal and hand me one of the cigars, and they was like, "You like it?" I'm like, "Yeah, they fresh, they feel good." Yeah, they was like, "Oh, well, you got to buy the box." And I was like, "Bro, I just told you I wanted one cigar." So now they trying to press me out to buy the whole thing. So I had to buck up. It was like, "Yo, I told you I'm buying one cigar. If you're not gonna sell me one cigar, that's it." And I walked out because after that, it was like, I ain't about to get jumped in here, and I don't know where I'm at. And so I walked out, went back to the square, and made my way back to the house. But it was just like, had that been somebody of not my stature, right? Like, what could have happened, right? Or, if that would have been a woman, what I'm saying, that situation, like, what does that look like? And so definitely always got to be alert. But I also, on the other hand, met some great people in Cuba who I'm friends with to this day that took care of me. So, yeah, man.
That's what's up. Yeah. Yeah, man. So I'm just enjoying the conversation.
Hey.
Everybody's been dropping like gems and advice and knowledge, that our listeners can take and heed and use, especially when it comes to like planning that trip, right? You got a lot of people who the only thing holding them back is because they don't want to go by themselves. And once you get over that, I mean, it's like, okay, just show them pictures when you get back. Like, show them what they missed out on, right? Because as long as you waiting on other people to get ready, you may not ever get to that point because, everybody say they ready to go on a trip until it's time to actually go on the trip. It's time to start throwing money, putting money down. And then everything's, well, now I got to pay for this. Now I got to pay for this. I ain't gonna be able to go. So listen, and that's one of the benefits, right, with solo travel is like, everything that you're doing, you solely responsible for that,
right,
financially, right? And so, yeah, book the trip, see the world, go by yourself. And hey, if you a little hesitant, like research what places are good for Black people to travel on a solo trip, both men and women. And there's some good options out there, some good suggestions out there, and that's only a simple Google search away. Yeah, so let's see where we at in our time with our conversation. I'm trying to figure out how I can, I guess, ask the question before we get to our final question. I guess we've talked about traveling and solo travel, what it means to be a Black man and traveling. What are some places that you have visited, but what I guess more so, what are some places that you are looking forward to like visiting? What is your dream vacation?
Everybody say, like the Maldives, with all like, pretty water and all that. Personally, I just want to just explore Africa from east to west.
That's what's up.
That's like, I
I
mean,
like
like
that. I
that's
like
just to
that.
be quite honest, because
Mhm.
for me, I mean, come on, like look at how many countries are in Africa. I
Right.
mean, that's just starting off one, and then two, just how rich they are in culture in itself. I mean,
Mhm.
whether you're talking about Ghana, whether you're talking about Nigeria, whether you're talking about Ethiopia, Kenya. I mean, even I remember like I think it was a few years ago. I shared a conversation with my cousin, and I showed her this blue beach, and she was like, "Yo, where's that? The Bahamas?" I'm like, "No, that's Kenya." I'm like, people don't know.
Right. It's
Like,
some hidden beauty over there in Africa.
The best
yes,
water
bro.
I've ever seen, still to this date, was in Tanzania. Beautiful, bro. Beautiful.
See, and I just had a friend that she had just gotten back from Tanzania, and I mean, that's to me like Tanzania definitely has to be like on the top, like when it comes to my next trip, because
Mhm.
again, man, it's just I would say like I'm glad that like we are helping bringing more awareness to traveling in Africa, because I would definitely say prior to social media, or I would say before social media really had taken off, they're still thinking of Africa as feed the hungry everywhere,
Right.
and I'm like, bro, like that's definitely
Or
not
just 2 cents a day.
right. It's like that is not the country that you're speaking on,
Right.
and that's I mean like, and that's what I just love about far as just getting just I would say just traveling or wanting to travel in Africa. I just want to be able to just explore those places. I have a few friends that are out in South Africa, and I've had some of my frat brothers to travel down there. They said they had a ball down there. One of my bucket lists is to go shark cage diving, down there to see the great whites.
Yeah, bro.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's one of my
Let
bucket
me know when you go do that, because I might have to
Yeah.
hop on that trip.
Yeah, man. So I mean, so it's just so much. It's so much to explore. But also, on the contrary, though, I would say personally, like what's one of my goals also is to visit the black population of these other countries too. Like you're starting to see like the Afro Mexicans, you see Afro Puerto Ricans, Afro Brazilians, like there's so many of the African diaspora. Like that's why I honestly want to start traveling too,
Yeah,
because again, it's
definitely.
like you kind of see like how things played out for us in the United States. Now you get to see how things played out in Brazil, for our indigenous folks down there. You get to see how it played out in Antigua and all these other places. So that's like that's how my bucket list is, man. It's like once I started seeing other black people outside the states, I'm like, yo, where the black people at?
Listen, we on a mission. That was like us. I know when we went to Amsterdam, we didn't have time. Our schedules didn't just fit. It didn't fit the way we would have wanted to. But we was trying to go over to like where all the black people are in Amsterdam, because I just like you said, you want to see how they're living, right, and what their experience is in their local context. So yeah. Yeah, so definitely hit me up about that trip to South Africa to go
Oh, for
swim
sure, man.
with the sharks.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
gotta hit South Africa myself. I got one of my homeboys down here, man. They went a few years ago. And he just showed me the video. We were at the dinner the other night. He showed me the video of them doing the shark dive in the cage and everything, bro. And he was just like, it was funny because like it was him and his LBs on the trip, and they were like throwing up because they were all seasick. So they're just like taking turns throwing up on the front. And then like on the other side, the guy's throwing chum in the water to get the sharks to come.
Oh yeah,
And
to
they're
get them
like,
all
as he's
riled
throwing
up.
the chum just stinks because it's just rotten fish. So now they get more nauseous. So they keep going back to the front of the boat to throw up. And it was like,
That's
they were like,
horrible.
the water looks murky. He's like, yeah, everybody kept throwing up, but he was like, nah, it was a rough day on the seas that day. But that's dope, man, that you actually said Africa, because I think like one thing I will say about like visiting Africa, man, was that the continent itself has so much like diversity within like culture, within the different countries, within the landscape, within just like beauty. Like when I went to Zanzibar, man, and saw that water, I was like, bro, like what in the world? Like where am I at? You know? And so like till this day, like still going to Santorini, Greece, like that's a close second, but still to this day, I would say like the most beautiful water I've ever seen was in Zanzibar in Tanzania, man. And so like I'm super curious to explore Africa, the continent, because I get corrected all the time when I go over there. I was in Tanzania, talking about I'm in Africa. They're like, you're in Tanzania. I was like, my fault.
All right. So
My bad.
Put some respect on our country.
Yeah.
And one of the things I will say, bro, that was so interesting was number one, I'm glad that I got to touch 2 countries in Africa before I ever went to Europe. Because what's the thing we always hear? Man, I'm trying to go to Paris. I'm trying to go to Amsterdam. I'm trying to go to Spain. But it's like they stole the culture from us. Where do you think they got it from?
They don't want to have that conversation, though.
They don't. And it's like
they don't want to have that conversation.
I got to Tanzania, and I was like, this don't look like no commercials. Like the thing that I see the biggest difference was that it was the haves and the haves. Not that it wasn't a big middle class, but I saw a land of riches, though. I'm not gonna lie. You know, like it was people that's really doing it, and there's people that ain't really doing it.
And I think we even if when we like look back on like some of our time at Shaw, like even the students who came from Africa, a lot of them came from wealthy families living in good situations. They just came to the U.S. to study. And so that also, I mean, I got to get. So I've only been to Egypt, so I want to explore Africa more as well. But I'm definitely, especially, I had a student intern maybe like 2 years ago who was from Cape Town, and she used to always tell me a lot about it. And so I definitely want to get down there as well.
When y'all go to Africa, let me know, because I did not get to do a safari, so I'm trying to do a safari.
Oh yeah, I want to do that too. Listen, I might just need to take like a whole month off of work or build up some PTO or something.
Seriously.
And just take a whole month and just hop around the continent of Africa.
Yeah, man, because like on what is it? The martial arts capoeira, like it's very popular in Brazil, but it has West African roots. You know, I mean, it's so much culture that just tracks right back to Africa. Of course, it's lost in translation. It's lost, through the transatlantic slave trade and things like that. But everything literally tracks back to the motherland. Everything. I mean, everything does. So it's like why not visit there? So that's really one of my main reasons, though, man. It's just.
So I'm just gonna be the one getting messed up as soon as I get off the plane. Somebody say, "Welcome home." Y'all just gonna have to carry me to the hotel because I'm be done.
I'm staying in Ghana. Y'all just leave me. Go,
right.
Go
I'm just gonna fall to pieces. Just be a big old water bucket. Somebody tell me, "Welcome home."
I'm starting to see a lot of that too. Like a lot of people, like whether it's dual citizen. Well, I would say a lot of dual citizenship. Like a lot of people are getting homes out there. It was
I know they did like a big migration, like maybe last year, the year before last, because it's like the 400-year independence for Ghana or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of people literally left the States and moved over, or at least visited Ghana that particular year for their 400th year.
I think it's year of return or something like that.
Yeah, the year of return.
Yeah. They said was it Accra? They said Ghana's lit, bro. Like they was like everybody keeps saying.
That's what I heard. Yeah, I was watching. I listened to, I guess, the Trap House comedy podcast, and they went for New Year's. They actually did a vlog about it, and it looked very lit. I'm like, yeah, that might be an actual idea. Like, I've never been out of the country for New Year's, so that might be something just to look into.
Because I think it was. I'm not sure if it was. I think last year was Afro Nation that they had out there for New Year's. It was I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Afro Nation, and a few people that I'm connected to on Instagram, they went out there and they was like, "Yo, like you should definitely plan for it next year." I mean, like I'm watching their reels. I'm watching like all the.
Listen, I just follow Afro Nation on Instagram the other day. I'm trying to look. Every time they post, I'm looking like, what you say? Like, don't forget about me. Don't leave me out. So yeah, definitely looking forward to it, to being able to do that for sure. Yeah, and so so I guess our last question that I guess we'll have is why do you think that it's important for more black men specifically and black people to uh, get into the travel space and the travel world?
I would say for self exploration and self awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would say like that's really the main course because again, it's if you if I would say even if you go out, especially if you go out, if anyone goes that frequents the bars or the clubs and things like that, people are just tandem to their phone. You know,
Right.
like no one is in the moment anymore, especially like around here. I mean, is what it is. Not everyone, but I would say it's more frequently than it has been before. But once you get somewhere, like if you're going out the country, or maybe you're just going somewhere like away from technology, you're able to really tune into yourself. I mean, even if you look at the younger generation, it's like, hey man, like if you think about it, like that same is like that same place that your favorite rapper goes to, like you can go to that exact same spot or you can go to that exact same resort, and it's not going to be that expensive as you think it is. So it's definitely going to be able to bring that expansion, so they're able to see, different images. They're able to see, positive black men like ourselves, like being at those destinations, so if they are in a bad space, or if they do have any type of, personal issue that's going on, it's like, hey, you can get around people like ourselves, you're able to grow from that. So I would say it's the self enlightenment, man, because again, it's too much of the negative plight when it comes to black men. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, we can't be angry in public. I mean, it's so much that going along with it. I'm locking my hair back up. So I already know what's gonna happen. Like you're gonna have those. Oh my gosh, I don't. It's like, yeah, like you're literally using the stigma of locks, and you incriminate. Like anytime you see someone with locks, you automatically incriminate it as if he's a drug dealer or a drug user. And those are the parameters that we're always around on a regular basis. Versus you go to a different country, like we said, like it's not as frequent. You're always going to have the racism. Of course, you're going to have prejudiced people, but you're going to be able to go to a space to where you're not in it like you are here in the States.
Yeah.
It's going to bring out different personality traits. You're going to be able to think back on a situation like, dang, like why was I doing this? Or like, why am I here? It's like, wait a minute, I can do this. Like then you start getting aspiration. Then you start to see like, okay, I can get more confident in a lot of what I'm doing now because I've gotten out here. I've done these things in this different country, and now I'm bringing it back to my friends, and now I'm starting to see, damn, like this isn't where I want to be. So that's gonna automatically create the growth that some people just honestly need. Now, on the contrary, I mean, you do have people who travel closed-minded. I mean, it is what it is, but whatever, like we ain't talking about them. We're talking about the ones who want to grow. Like these are the ones that we're talking about, and that's what I love to speak about, especially like anytime I pop up on Shaw campus, for an event, and you see the students out there. I'm like, bro, if I knew how much traveling was back when I was at Shaw,
Right.
one of the refund checks would have legit went to a trip, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm over here thinking that when I see my aunts and family travel, I'm thinking it's like $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Nowhere near that, So I'm like, hey, like if you got the money, you got that refund. Hey, go to Miami, go to Jamaica, go to Mexico for spring break, man. Like explore that. So it's definitely the self enlightenment though, because again, like they're gonna be able to see who they truly are as an individual once they're able to detach from everything and everyone and be able to and be in a different environment that's going to bring out the more than likely bring out the best in them.
For sure. And I think you bring up a good point, right? But with the self enlightenment, but it also puts you in a whole nother, realm of what's the best word I can use? It puts you in a whole nother level, or I don't want to say class, but you're able to engage in conversations that somebody else may not be able to because of the experiences that you've had, right? And it's not that we're being braggadocious about it, but we're just sharing our experiences, right? So, like, just case in point today, you and Joc and I, we can sit here and have a conversation about travel because we've traveled to different places, right? Because there's been some spaces that I've been into, that I've been in, and I've tried to like share my experiences to places like I'm gone, like I've gone, and I feel like it's coming off as I'm like bragging about it when I'm really not.
Mhm.
I'm just telling you where I've been, right? Like they'll say something, oh yeah, I've been there, and it can either spark their curiosity or they just be like, okay, that's nice. But it definitely allows you to come back and share your experiences and to connect with like-minded individuals, right? Because I love to see get on Instagram and see where people going, right? Like I get excited for them, like I'm on the trip. Like I'm like, yo, you need to be posting to your story so I can see what's going on.
Exactly. Like,
Because
hey.
we on this trip with you too. So like I just and the self enlightenment, it just comes full circle. I think traveling and definitely we knew now what what we didn't know back in undergrad. Listen,
Man, I thought I was rich.
Myrtle Beach, what? Myrtle Beach, who?
What?
Who? What? Who does
Carolina
that?
Beach, Wrightsville.
Right,
Hold on.
Wilmington Beach. Nah.
Shoot, we thought we 1 year of spring break, we went to Panama City Beach in Florida, and like we just knew we was it. And it was like just to take that trip, it was like it was a good trip, but it was like, bro, y'all
Somebody had to drive.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 13-hour drive. Like, we in the 13-passenger van. On the way back, the drive was terrible. Like my homeboy swerved me. Like, okay, bro, just pull over. Somebody else will drive. But this has been a dope conversation. I'm glad we got to have it at the end of the day because more people need to hear this, and I feel like folks get caught up in the glam. I think one of the things that we've lost in translation is that yes, we have this access to social media, but then we've lost the common touch. Like that when you go overseas and see like people still have conversations, and that conversation is what drives things. And like you can tell, like folks from the States, they just like this the whole time. It's like, hold on, bro, like put your phone on, have a conversation. You're gonna learn, you're gonna miss something, you're gonna learn some culture. Like when we was in Amsterdam, Matt, we having conversations with these people, and just learning so much. Like if you ever come back, this is what you need to hit, right? If you ever go here, I got this guy out here for you, and so
not if you ever, when you come back, because I'm going back.
Yeah, because we get caught up in the Houston, Atlanta, Vegas dream.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man, Houston lit, Atlanta lit, Vegas lit. It is. But at the same time, have you gone somewhere kind of off the grid or that ain't the most talked about destination where you can actually learn something? There's people there that look like you. And they can talk about, hey, like my grandmama got off 2 stops before your grandma on this boat. You know what I'm saying? This transatlantic slave trade we talking about. Come on now. And so it's just like, yeah, like we went through the same thing. We just speak a different language.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so like
we are going through the same thing. Not just went. We are going through the same thing, but we just in different parts of the globe.
Exactly, man. I always tell people all the time, I said, it's funny how you look at things, right? I said, rice and peas ain't too different from jollof.
Nope, not at all.
So at the end of the day, it's like this black magic finds a way to keep us together. And so, us as Black Americans, I think that because we have things and the ability to really move around and about once we explore that, like we have so much to gain and learn. I hope that people are empowered by that, inspired by that, and keep moving, to do what they want to do.
For sure.
One thing I want to hit on, like before we go, like definitely you said what you said on social media. Like on one hand, like social media has helped me throughout my travel so much. I mean, from how I've grown through social media and literally just like created like a global network, because I mean it's many countries I can go to, and it's like, hey yo, like I'm gonna be out there the next few months. Like, hey D, let me know when you come and I'm ready. And you're able to connect with so many people through that. But then also you have the other side to where like you were saying, it's just all about the photos, getting the right angles. It's like you're there, but you're not in the moment. You know, I mean, and I get it for, because some people are influenced and they get paid for that. So I mean, I'm not gonna knock it off,
Right.
but if you're solely just going there just to get that photo so you can get so you can get featured on that one page, you're missing everything.
Were you really there?
Yeah.
Listen.
I mean,
Right.
like you said, like you're missing the conversations, you're missing the culture. It could be something to where it can help you and be pertinent to your life, but then you were more tuned into your phone, and then of course you're sticking out like a sore thumb because like you said, Americans, we're known to be on our phones. I found that out the hard way. Like I'm thinking I could just like catch a quick snap when I was in Abu Dhabi. The dude in the club was just like, no. And I don't know who the group was, but I think they could have been royalty. Like, to be quite honest, because the people like you were saying, like I met some people out there. They were from South Africa. Went out to the club with them, and yeah, it was all in the booth having a good time. Like everybody, snapping here and there. But like I said, when this guy came over and the bodyguard was legitimately like, "Hey, you can't do that." I was like, "Oh snap!" So again, it's like one of those moments to where it's like, yeah, I'm in the moment, but then like I thought I can catch a quick snap, but again, that's where you don't want to get caught up and not miss out on everything. But of course, not snapping on the phone this whole entire time, but able just to be able to experience all that. You still want to be on your phone and miss out on great opportunities and lifelong memories.
Definitely. And I think like even just when you're talking about being in the moment, even with some of the group travels that I've gone on, right? And we have like a tour guide who we sat there and paid for, right?
Right.
And how they're trying to talk over everybody in the bus and people not paying attention. Like they giving you all this rich history and rich information about wherever you are, and you're not listening. And I was one of them people once upon a time. Like if I could go back to Israel and redo it, I wish I would have paid a little more attention to our tour guide. Shout out to Yogi if you're listening. But it's important to be in the moment. Me and Joc were just talking about that, like literally before you hopped onto to do the podcast with us about being in the moment and being intentional, and being intentional about being in the moment, actively listening and not just listening to respond. So, and I think that's why when we do go to certain places, like the tour guides, they kind of like us more because we're sitting there listening and engaging and also asking questions.
Definitely.
And then it becomes a whole, like I know it was in Amsterdam. The dude, so we had like two people who were, I guess, the tour guys. One was driving a boat and the other one was there to help fix drinks. But they both like took turns talking about the history, but it got to a point where it was me, Joc, CJ, and Buck. We was in the back by the driver of the boat. It got to a point where, because we were like chopping up and asking so many questions, he became like our own personal tour guide.
Wow.
Yeah, the dude in front of us was like, "Hey, like it's your turn." He's like, "Oh, okay." We're gonna tell y'all about this, but it was real, man. We learned so much. So yeah, definitely agree with you on that one, D. That's a great call out, man. It's just being in the moment, getting off your phone, and like really just understanding like how you take in the space and how you come into the space.
Yeah,
we're going into somebody else's country. That's their sanctuary. That's where they're from. They're eager to show it to you, and we want to show that respect. Yeah, so I definitely learned that's big. A little respect will take you a long
way.
And I've seen it. I've seen somebody get turned away. They flew into Colombia. His homeboys got into customs. Homeboys went through customs because the man was disrespectful to them, to the customs agents. They said we would let him in because it was a misunderstanding, but he's been so disrespectful that we're going to send him back. And he had to watch his 5 homeboys walk through that gate, and he had to hop back on the next plane smoking to the States. Respect, man.
And I was just about to say, like, it start at the airport. From the moment you get to the airport at home, like where you're flying from, start there, right? Because I can't tell you how many times I've gotten a better seat just for being respectful, right? Going behind somebody, going to the gate after the gate agent had to deal with like an irate customer, and I'm going, well, hello, how are you? How's your day going? And then next thing I know, when I get to it's time to board the plane, I done got a whole new seat just because I was respectful, right? And it works into your advantage. And I would hate to be whoever that dude was to get all the way to your destination and then got to turn back around and go home. Because if I was one of the homeboys, I'm saying, all right, I see you in a couple of days.
That's exactly what happened.
Because what you're not gonna do is mess up my trip. Look, I done took this time off. I'm finally here. Like, nah, yeah. So it definitely respect goes a long way for sure.
It does.
For sure.
But yeah, man, it's been a real conversation, man. I've enjoyed y'all. Like, it's great to see. Though it's one thing to watch it from afar and follow each other on social media, but to hear it, talk about it, have a conversation, and really share that knowledge with other folks, I can't say nothing but excited. Daryl, you got any last words for the people?
Only thing I would say, man, is just get outside your comfort zone. You know, if people that you're around aren't traveling, I mean, you can literally meet people who are traveling. I mean, nowadays you have so many social media groups out here that all they do is literally travel. It's like whether it's a travel club, whether it's one of those Instagram, Facebook groups, you go on one of those trips, you're guaranteed to leave with like 2, 3, or 4 friends. You know, like that's how I've seen some people. That's how they form their own little travel groups. You know, like form a group from a group. You know, but definitely, like, I mean, if you're hesitant because your friends don't want to travel, go. They're not gonna come. I'm gonna tell you right now, they are not coming. They gonna keep saying I get paid next week, or they're gonna do it next week. You like, do it now. Leave them, because when it comes down to it, once they start seeing them photos, once they start seeing everything go down your feed, oh, they're gonna miss it. They're like, oh man, they're gonna be sick.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, if anyone is on the edge of wanting to leave their friends, leave them.
Showing them pictures when you get back. They'll see it on Instagram. Listen,
They'll be in the comments.
They'll be Boo Boo the Fool. Be at home looking like Boo Boo the Fool because they couldn't get it together. They was too indecisive.
Thanks.
So
Definitely.
yeah.
Well, fellas, I've enjoyed y'all. We definitely gotta. Oh yeah, Matt, we got to talk about the wondering tip of the week. So
Yes,
what you got for the folks? What game? Free game? What free game you giving these folks today, man?
Listen, y'all. You know the world is back open. I just saw an article today, and Fauci was saying that we have passed the pandemic phase. So I just want y'all to be able to go ahead and book them flights to Hawaii and any other destinations that Southwest goes to, because right now for the Hawaii international flights on Southwest, they're offering 30% off with the code, all capital letters, Go Tropical. So go to Southwest, look you up a flight, go to Hawaii or wherever else they go to. I know they go to Cabo, they go to some other locations in Mexico, and use that promo code Go Tropical and get 30% off of your flight. We outside all summer, y'all.
We definitely about to be outside. I'll tell you that. But I will tell you this. If you have not started to book your flights yet, it's too late. And it's cool. It's fine.
they might find a sale, you know.
Because these airlines are gonna get it back in blood, and these gas prices are gonna get it back in blood.
Listen, they might look up and find a little quick deal, you know.
Look,
there's still a little hope. Right, listen, I'm trying to advocate because I still got some flights that I need to purchase.
You know what?
Still some hope.
We look. I hope you got your Sky Miles saved up. That's all I'm gonna say.
Listen. I might not be able to fly Delta, but we're gonna get there.
Well, I hope you got points and privilege and status with somebody, because you're gonna be
right.
Everything.
Listen,
so
we need it all.
Definitely. But before we get out of here, let's make sure. Well, Matthew, first and foremost, we gotta leave the folks with a positive note for today. So what is a good word for today, good brother?
Oh man, I wasn't prepared, but since I'm on program, since I'm always ready, listen. You know what, Joc? You put me on the spot. Wherever you are, there you are. That's my word for today. Listen, But I think we said a lot of words today. I think the overarching encouraging word today is take that trip, right? Um, take that trip, allow it to be a release for you, right? You know, I remember some of my friends before we even left to go on our previous trip to where did we go? Europe. Some things we're having out here in California. Just like, yo, whenever you get somewhere, uh, whenever you can get to some water, get to some nature, just take everything you've been going through and leave it in the water, leave it in the nature, wherever it might be, right? Because that's a form of release. And so take that trip, right? I think, you know, travel is great for mental health as well. So if I could encourage you to do anything, stop waiting on the homies, stop waiting on your friends, and just book that trip, even if you got to go by yourself.
And
And
Casamigos is cheaper in the Caribbean, so go in there, get on somebody's boat, get, get you some of that tequila, and you know,
right,
just let it all go. You feel me?
right, just loosen, you know, get you a little warm.
Or get some
And
real tequila out there. Shoot.
Hey,
listen,
hey,
Mexico, I love the tequila. Well, I had a good time in the Caribbean too, but Mexico for sure. Like, don't give me no Patron. Don't give me none of that stuff because I don't want that. I want the stuff, the authentic.
give me the craft tequila. Give me, you know, that was
Right. Let me
homegrown,
go.
you know.
Let me go on a tequila tour and tasting while
Mm.
I'm there. Because y'all know tequila is my favorite, so uh, I'm there for it. But yeah, take that trip. That's my encouraging word for today.
Well, we appreciate that, good brother. D, let the folks know where they can find you on social media, man.
Hey man, take off at take off with Daryl, like take off like the plane. Daryl spelled Daryl. Take off with Daryl. That's where you can find me. Main platform is Instagram. I do TikTok maybe a little bit every now and again. I'm not really too much on it, but nonetheless, man, I'm always open to connect, man. Because at the end, like I said, end of the day, when it comes to brothers traveling, I'm all for it. I'm all for the traveling of brothers. I'm all for the uplifting of brothers because if no one else do it, we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to uplift one another because hey, when it comes to us, you know how the media portrays us. We got to give them a different image.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
for
Likewise.
sure.
MP, where do people can find the Travel Hour, and also where can they find you?
Listen, if you have not followed us on the Travel Hour, perhaps this might be your first time. So let me not fuss at you. But if this is not your first time and you haven't followed us yet, bro, sis,
What are you doing?
what's
You're
going
sitting on the
on?
couch.
What are you waiting on? Right, you listening to us in your car at work? Hit that button. But you can follow us at the Travel Hour, THEE Travel Hour on Instagram. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and on YouTube at the same name, the Travel Hour. And you can find us and connect with us there. For me, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at according to, and that's TO and not the number, according to MP. And you can find me that way. Joc, how can they find you on social media?
As a millennial, you can find me on Instagram, but I don't know how to work the other stuff. To be honest with you,
Not
but
now. I don't know how to work. Somebody come work this machine because I don't
for
know how to
real,
work
I
it.
be on there like y'all come work. I don't know how to do TikTok. I can just watch the videos.
Listen, TikTok is. I know Daryl kind of alluded to it earlier. TikTok is clutch, and I don't mean to cut you off, but
Oh, you
that's
good?
how I learn about all the travel. Like if I'm going somewhere, I type in the city or the country, and I find all the places to go.
Mm.
But let us know how we
You've
can
been coming
find
through with the TikTok fine, so I'm proud of you. I just use my hashtags on Instagram, and those work pretty good. So you like the
I need a
dynamic to it.
visual. I need a video so I can see what to expect.
Well, you know, Instagram is getting very really right. So
Yeah.
it's pretty much now starting to look very similar to stay relevant. But
Mhm.
like I said, y'all can find me on Instagram, the_Zixter with 2 G's. I'm on there, and also I got links to the Travel Hour podcast. As you follow the Travel Hour media platforms, make sure you subscribe to the actual podcast so that you get the notifications that's coming up when we drop these episodes. Like I always say, it's a buffet. So take some, leave some. What's relevant to you, take it. What's not, leave it. But we always dropping gems on here, so we hope that y'all really follow us on this podcast and this movement. D, it's been a pleasure to have you on, man. Definitely looking forward to what the future holds.
Definitely, man. Like we definitely got to do some traveling soon. Like I'm definitely gonna be picking it up like last quarter of this year. So from there, man, like I really want to take my platform up to the next level because I know there's more I can do. Like there's more I can contribute towards the travel community. I've been thinking about this heavy for since the beginning of the year, so I definitely plan on doing that. So we like you said, we need more black faces out there, man. That's just what it is. Like our sisters, like they own the fronts. They got all the viral photos. Like they different dresses. Blowing in the wind and all that good stuff. Looking good. Yes. But also we need to be represented as well. So I want to do my part.
Definitely, bro. We definitely gonna be tapping in with you. This won't be the last time we see you. And so however we can support, let us know. We'll be there.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Good, man.
Well, our Travelhourljm family is about that time. We are signing out.
That time.
MPD, it's been real, y'all.
It's been real. Catch y'all on the next episode.
All right.